Okay, so here we are in ideology. These dice are just to mark where I am in the turn order. There's no dice actually used in the game. And again, I've gone through the drawing of cards, the trading, and the development phase. Nobody actually developed any of their territory. Probably should have done some cutbacks here. The communists are going to throw that. And let's see. The Islamicists will throw that. And that should be sufficient. Okay. Now, we're in an interesting position here because we got two leaders in the fascists and the imperialists. The imperialists are very difficult to attack. They've been building up their defenses. They had two of each of these. They now have an industry as well. The fascists look easier, so they bought some tactics to at least prevent themselves from being attacked as easily by the Islamicists, who also bought tactics in order to have a better chance of attacking. But it's kind of in this interesting position where everybody's still afraid to really move. There are cheaper things to do than attacking someone else. And while that feels right for, say, a Cold War era, I'm not sure it feels all that right for the era depicted here, which is the entirety of the 20th century. Anyway, we get Turkey as our new card, which is next to Iran, Iraq, Israel, Russia, and Southern Europe. That means Russia and Iran have a place to expand that's new. I'm not absolutely certain what happens here. I don't know if that's going to get downgraded on the fascist turn. I'll come back with the information on that. Or if, and I believe this may be the case, it ends up becoming neutral again. Let me look that up. So, in answer to that question, had Spain remained at a 1 in each, or even less, down to 0, it would still stay under the control of the fascists so long as they kept the most total influence there. But its value would go down no lower than 1, even if there were no influence cards in one sector. Okay. Kind of a tricky little thing that wasn't intuitive about it. Moved through the expansion into Turkey. There was a lot of fighting there, especially between the fascists and the Islamicists. The imperialists ended up securing their position in Brazil by attacking the fascists there. The anti-imperialist coalition is pretty much everyone. The Islamicists said, hey fascists, let's cut a deal, man. We can be friends, right? And the fascists said no. Because right now, there's at least one area where the fascists have a potential gain if they can continue a military attack on the Islamicists. And they do not want, they don't feel like the Islamicists have anything to gain by attacking them at this point. So they want to keep that war going. So those are our wars. Everyone except the capitalists against the imperialists, and then the fascists and the Islamicists. Let's reposition things. Brazil goes over to the imperialists. Eastern Europe. This is getting tricky. Is now capitalist. There was a lot of fighting between the communists and capitalists there. The fascists had kind of the possibility of intervening in that and forcing it to go communist, but they chose not to, and the capitalists were able to push the issue. And we still have Turkey and Southeast Asia as unaligned countries that are being fought over. What does this mean for points? Well, the imperialists are still in the lead. The fascists have dropped, right? No. The capitalists have caught up to the fascists but have not surpassed them. So everything remains the same in terms of turn order, but now we're at 8-10 points for the imperialists, which puts them only 2 points away from winning. Somebody's got to stop them, but they have so much defense that it's going to be hard to take anything from them, and they still get the jump on that first turn action. So if something cool comes out, they've got a good chance of getting a point or two. Plus, they could just build up their turn. Uh-oh! They dropped one. They lost Mongolia a point. That's not enough to do them any harm, though. They're at 9 instead of 10, is all that it is. So they need 3 more points. But one card gets them a point, and then they can gain the other points by developing their regions. They don't actually have to go out and conquer something. Depending on how their cards are, they may not be able to, but they may. It may be easier. It depends. Okay. Well, on to what may be the last turn. So again, we've gone up to the development phase here. And the Imperialists didn't have enough cards to go forward and reach a victory position. So right now they're at 10-11 if they make it through this turn, because they increased Mongolia, which only took 1 card, and Brazil, which took 1 of each. Whether or not they can make it through there, that remains to be seen. They didn't buy any more defense, didn't buy any more cards to try to go for weapons of mass destruction or anything like that. One thing that I noticed, they've got a lot of cards on the table, and the deck is really depleted. I can see why they added more cards from the original version in order to, because you would almost be stuck with a particular hand, a very balanced hand at this point in the game, and you might actually not have enough cards at some point if you have commitments elsewhere. Okay. We also saw the fascists and the capitalists try to expand their interests. The capitalists in Eastern Europe, the fascists in Spain, but the communists said no and withdrew a card from each of those to prevent them from coming closer to being within striking range of winning. The communists are currently clearly losing the game. They're only at 3 global influence. Even the Islamicists are at 5. I think it's a hard row to hoe, as it were, as the communists. Here's why. They have few advantages that really help them at the beginning of the game. They have a disadvantage, as everyone does, which isn't too much different. But the industry advancement isn't a terribly big one. And their totalitarianism is a threat, because it means if they get something, it's going to be real hard to take it away from them. Now, it turns out it's real hard to take anything away from anybody. We're beginning to see, especially, once you get up to level 2, if you've got control of it with 6 cards, somebody's got to attack you 3 times successfully. Or, one person to wrest control from you. Other people could help reduce your holdings, but overall, it's going to be pretty hard to take anything from somebody once they have it. But it's almost impossible, I think, to take things from the communists. Okay, well, let's see what our new region is. It's Iceland! Well, there's a big bonus for the imperialists. Now, they should not be able to get this. But they're right now at 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. If they get this and hold all their other value, they win. But they should not be able to get this because they didn't have enough cards to expand another area. And so they shouldn't have enough to take this without someone else playing there. And if they do, someone should be able to take it from them because they don't have a lot of cards left after spending. Alright, well, let's see how things fall out. Well, you can't expect a group of people to cooperate on anything, can you? The imperialists played military influence into Iceland. No reason not to. The Islamic said, I'm not close to winning. Unless I can get something and shake something out, this is just horrible. Now, they didn't have enough force to take Southeast Asia, say, or to take Turkey, because, well, they could have probably taken Turkey, but they decided to play cheaply into Iceland. They used their propaganda to play for free. And now things look dangerous, because economic influence and the imperialists have control of Iceland. But we already knew they didn't have enough economic influence. Well, they knew. Maybe nobody else knew. But it seemed likely that that was the thing they were lacking, since they used an extra card of that type. So that ended up, they passed. They couldn't put any additional influence there. The capitalists ran in. That was actually probably a mistake. A much worse one than the Islamists trying to shake things up. After that, the fascists attacked. Actually, the imperialists managed to take the cultural advantage. The fascists attacked, I believe, and took the military advantage after many, many cards. There was a whole sequence of cards played for that. And eventually, the imperialists managed to come back, I think, in military and take it back. Kind of a bit of trickery there. They may have taken, I may have gotten the order wrong. Anyway, they now have 12 points. At the end of this turn, when I will, if I set everything up, Mongolia goes up to 2, Brazil goes up to 3. That puts them to 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 1 for Iceland is 12. No one else has that. They pulled off a win. I'm not going to complain too much. So, yeah, any kind of game where you have people far behind when there are a number of powers that are clearly in the running and coming close, and this is the case with the capitalists and fascists. Both the communists and Islamists are so far behind that they're willing to gamble everything and try to force everybody to scramble to fight, and maybe they'll come out ahead, a little bit ahead during that attempt to keep the balance of power by the powers that actually are halves. And this is something we should learn from our political process. If you're not a have, you should be acting that way. You know? Strangely enough, what we see is the people with the most in America to lose have reacted with the, okay, well, if you're not going to play my way, you're not going to play. Well, okay, but you may not like what's going to happen. Anyway, it's a lesson to be learned, but a lot of times people are not as clever as, say, an FDR is, and is sneaky in terms of, like, placating, the side that he most abhors by giving them something. Not enough, but enough to keep them quiet. Okay. Anyway, enough politics in this. I'm going to come back with a review of the game fairly shortly. And I'll send this one up first. Cheers.